Are you wondering if the new Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced is the right drone for your commercial applications? Stay tuned. We have all the information you need to make the right decision. Well, it's finally here. In January, DJI announced that there's going to be a new Mavic 2 Enterprise Edition, and here it is. So this is the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced. There's been so much buzz regarding this aircraft, so many questions that I've received. We finally have it in our possession. We've had it as a demo for a couple weeks now. We've done a lot of testing, a lot of flying, a lot of comparisons, and we really have a very comprehensive review for you, everything that you're going to want to know about this aircraft. So many people call us and ask us to compare how this is going to be to the Matrice 300. Now, while this is not necessarily going to be a true comparison against the Matrice 300, we do have a separate video that we put together that really itemizes everything from feature to feature regarding these different aircraft. You can check that out. But we will be talking in terms of what this aircraft is capable of from a commercial standpoint. A lot of public safety want to know if this is the right aircraft for them. A lot of commercial and inspection type of drone operators want to know if this also is for them. There's a lot of people out there that want to try to spend as little money as possible, get the best value for what they want to do. And we're going to cover all those important aspects of what you need to know about this aircraft so that we can go ahead and help you make a really good, sound decision. So before we talk about what's new, let's talk about what is retained from the old Enterprise versions. It is not water resistive. It doesn't have the ability to fly in the rain or snow. It has OcuSync 2, so it has very long range if needed. It gets approximately 22 to 24 minutes of flight time. It's compatible with a smart controller or a regular remote, but it does come with the smart controller. It has the same 3 enterprise accessories as before, including the loudspeaker, the spotlight, and the beacon. It's designed to run the same Pilot app, and it's not compatible with the new M300 Pilot app. In regards to obstacle avoidance, it is the same obstacle avoidance system, which covers all aspects of the aircraft from top to bottom to front to back and sides. Now, let's talk about what's new. The biggest addition by far is the new thermal camera. It's the same quality and resolution as the M300. It's a 640 line by 512 resolution camera, and it is radiometric. So when we want to go ahead and find different spots and different temperatures of no matter where it is on the screen, all we have to do is hit our finger, tap it anywhere on the screen, and be able to see that. So it is a huge bump in resolution. It is over 4 times more resolution than the current Enterprise Dual. So when you see side-by-side comparisons, there really is no comparison as to the quality of the resolution of this new camera. So there's a lot of people, public safety, roof inspectors, a lot of people are really going to love to use this thermal camera and find a lot of really good uses for it. Now, one thing that this thermal camera does not have the capability of is isotherms. So what are isotherms? Isotherms are a way that we can assign colors and color palettes to a certain defined temperature range. So for example, let's say we're looking for a body, a human being, and we're trying to find a very narrow band of temperature, let's say anywhere from 75 degrees to 95 degrees. We can go ahead and assign that to a color, specific color palette, and then that will help that to stand out like a sore thumb and help you really easily identify things that you may overlook or not see otherwise, where it helps to really improve the contrast and being able to see and detect those type of temperatures. So this does not have the capability of being able to do that, unfortunately. But we can bring in our pictures into a aftermarket software and be able to analyze that data further. Now, the thermal camera does have some zoom capability to it. It's digital zoom. It can do 2x zoom, 4x zoom, or 8x zoom. So to be as comprehensive as possible, we went and tested this thermal camera exactly how we test all of our other cameras. So what we did was I have my son go out into the field at our local park and go ahead and start on the outside of the woods and then go ahead and go inside and then come back out. We fly exactly at the same altitude, at the closest angles as we possibly can, and that way we can compare all the different cameras side by side to give you the best comparison possible. So here they are. So now let's talk about the RGB camera. It is a 48 megapixel camera and it uses a 1/2-inch CMOS sensor. It is very similar to the same thing that you're going to find in the Mavic Air 2. Now, a lot of people are getting excited because this is advertised up to 32 times zoom. So it's lossless up to 4 times zoom, but after we go 4 times zoom, then it becomes digital only. So there's going to be a lot of added pixelization. So we're going to dive deep here into this because there's a lot to go over. And while I can offer you a very formulated opinion of what I believe this can do, perspective is reality. So we're going to show you a lot of different type of examples of what this is like. Now, the assumption that many people have made is that because we have a 48 megapixel camera, that it's going to minimize that digitalization. So what we did was we went out and actually did a few different inspections at cell towers to really get a grasp on this. Now, the first thing I want to stress to you is that when you take a picture, let's say you're zoomed in at 8 times zoom, and you take a picture. When you go ahead and retrieve it off of your card, you're going to notice that the actual framing is taking at 1x. So it is not going to give you the framing that you're taking it at. It's actually taking it at the 1x, and it's going to assume that you're going to go ahead and open it up in Photoshop and then just zoom in as needed. It's not like the M300 where if I go ahead and go 32 times zoom in and take a picture, it's going to be at the exact framing of that. So, and a lot of people are really trying to compare that. Is this anywhere compatible or close to the quality of the H20 and H20T camera that you're going to get in the M300? Do I really need to spend the money on the Matrice 300, or can this go ahead and be good enough? So as you'll see, we went to a cell tower, and what we actually did was we took different measurements at different distances away from the cell tower. So we started at 100 feet away, and then we actually went in to different levels of zoom. And you'll see what those are right on your picture. And as we go up in zoom, you'll notice that there is a lot of added pixelization. So what we did was we went in as far as we could possibly go to show you what it looks like at other different viewpoints. So we then brought the drone in to 50 feet away from the cell tower. And again, we started at 1x. And then we started slowly, went to 2x, 4x, and all the way up to 32 times zoom. And as you can see, really, when it starts getting to about 16 times x, there's a lot of pixelization. So as you can see, it's still, even at 50 feet away, still hard to be able to identify key elements if you really need super fine detail on your inspections. We went into as far as 35 feet away. We really didn't want to go any further in from 35 feet away. And again, you'll see we started out at 1x, we went to 2x, 4x, and on up, all the way up until 16 times zoom, and then 32 times zoom. And you'll see the quality of what you're going to see even at 35 feet away. The 46 megapixel camera does minimize the pixelization, but again, if you're trying to do high resolution output prints, for example, or you need to really zoom in on a label on a connector, for example, or you're trying to see if a certain fastener has a lot of rust on it or not, depending upon how far you're away, that you may or may not get that. This is not going to be really for that type of inspections. Now, we really feel that where this does have a huge advantage, and I think this has a very good value, would be like for rooftop inspections, where maybe we can go ahead and be 15 feet away or 10 feet away, something where we can still be above the roof safely without worrying about the drone crashing into anything, and still be able to do that. So for roof type of inspections, I think this would actually be very ideal. Now, one other important note about the inspections that we did that you're going to see as we zoom in is we really feel that the RTK module is very important to be able to help the stability for the zoom. What I mean by that is, now this is a very good camera that stabilizes very well. There's no problem as far as the camera stabilizing, but as you'll see, as we can get up to like 8 times zoom and even or further away, because the aircraft can move around in the wind as much as a couple feet in the altitude direction on the z-axis or even on the x and y axis, as you can see on your footage, the picture can move around a lot. And the RTK module on here can definitely help stabilize that significantly. So for those of you that may say, well, I really don't, I'm not going to be flying around steel stamping plants or bridges or something like that, I really don't think it's going to be an added value. There is a lot more to RTK than that. And we will go ahead and jump into RTK more down in this video further. But again, just in terms of the inspection capabilities, that's a really important consideration to take into account, in my opinion. That way, it really keeps it planted a lot more. So again, to recap, we really feel that this is an improvement over the current enterprise zoom model, because that enterprise zoom model can only go up to 6x, and that at 6x, that still is digitalized. So now we can go ahead, get 4 times lossless quality, and still get like a good 8 times zoom capability that will minimize the pixelization. Other key points on the RGB camera is it will only do 4 times zoom capability in video record mode. So you have to be in photo mode if you want to go more than 4 times zoom in. Now, if you're someone that likes total control over your pictures as far as exposure and being able to go ahead and try different apertures, this does not have that capability. It's at a fixed 2.8 and the exposure is completely automatic. Now, let's jump right into the RTK module. So there's a lot of confusion and a lot of misinformation out there about this RTK module. Again, we've had loads of videos on what RTK does and what is it and why it's important. But again, as I touched on earlier, it is also important for stability and planning of the aircraft, especially when you want to go ahead and start zooming in quite tight, as you'll see, because it's a difference of for the aircraft moving around a couple feet and windy conditions to being much more planted and much more tighter in the air, which that helps significantly. Now, because this is only one antenna on here, it does not act or work in the same fashion like a Matrice 200 and 210 and a Matrice 300. It does not have two pucks to work with it. Now, why is that important? Well, because this RTK module cannot be able to calculate the azimuth of the aircraft. Now, what does that mean? Well, it takes away some of what I would call the added features for RTK in a normal setting, where if you're around a lot of electromagnetic fields like high tension power lines, excessive metal, that kind of stuff, this is not going to necessarily work as efficiently as a two-puck system in there. Now, what this will work with very well is improved overall positioning. It will be much tighter in there. But again, it still has to use the internal system in here for some features and functionality for it to work. So this is very similar to the Phantom 4 RTK that also has one puck of an antenna, and it works in the same vein. So if you really want to fly this drone next to a 30,000 volt power line, for example, I would probably say that you're going to have to use something like the Matrice 300 that has a two puck antenna. Now, while we're on that subject, it's very important to note that this aircraft and this RTK system is not compatible with a base station that you can set up on site. So like the Matrice 200 and 210, the Matrice 300, and now even the Phantom 4 all have the capability of putting a base station up. And then that way you're not relying on a network connection like this does. This is only compatible with what's called NTRIP. NTRIP is basically a base station somewhere inside your state, and it's going to broadcast that out, the data out, real-time data out on a network connection. So that way you can go ahead, you get a hotspot to your phone, or use a Wi-Fi or something that you can go ahead and get a wireless connection to your smart controller, and then from there we can get NTRIP connection. Now, one of the big misconceptions about this RTK service is that people feel that you could just use it for free and it's not going to cost anything. Now, that may or may not be the case. So it's by state. So some states, like Florida, for example, you can get free NTRIP service by going on your state's Department of Transportation, setting up a free account, and getting access to that. And other states where in Pennsylvania, for example, there is nothing for free. You have to get a paid subscription. And it can be as much as $50 a day or $400 a month. So it can be very costly. Now, if you're not sure if your state offers a free service or not, please contact us. We can tell you what states have that free service and what states that don't, so that you'll know in advance whether or not you're going to want to use the extra optional RTK module. So again, there's a lot of advantages of using the RTK, and even sometimes the NTRIP connections can be a little flaky. And I like passing on all that information. Try to be as transparent as possible to the average end user who really does not know too much about how RTK works. A lot of people ask us about the mapping and waypoint capability of this aircraft. We can say that this aircraft does mapping, it does waypoints, you can pre-program flights in advance through the pilot app for mission flights, but it cannot get us survey grade accuracy. So survey grade accuracy is where we have to have very tight tolerances within 1/10 of a foot or tighter. This is not a sensor that can do that. Just like the M300 cannot do that as well with the H20 and H20T, but we can do it with the P1 sensor. This, since there's no interchangeability of cameras for this aircraft, we can't get to the survey grade quality, but we can do mapping, we can set up rows for search and rescue, we can do obliques, we can do all that. It is capable of doing it, but I wanted to make sure that we straighten out and clarify that for our customers. Now, with the case that comes with this, it's basically the same type of case that all the previous enterprise versions come in. You have the ability to have 7 batteries in the case total, 3 on the bottom, and the 3 accessories on the top. Right now, there is no provision for the RTK module, and I'm sure that Go Professional is going to make a very nice case to make and put that added RTK module in there. But when you're comparing cases between the Matrice 300 and the Mavic, there's no comparison as far as portability goes. As you can see, with the Matrice 300, you're going to have to use a larger vehicle, whereas the Mavic 2, you can just put that in your patrol car or any regular car and deploy it very quickly. So now let's move on to remote controllers. So with the base kit, it comes with a smart controller, a standard Mavic 2 smart controller, which is very nice because you don't have to pay an additional cost to get an upgrade to a smart controller like you do the current aircraft out there. So that's nice to have. Now, a lot of people also ask, is the older Mavic 2 remotes compatible with this aircraft? The answer is yes, it can, but you're going to have to purchase it separately. Now, why would someone want to do that? Well, there's a lot of people out there that want to use the Crystal Sky monitors, and they might have started using them when the Matrice 200s came out and Inspires, and are used to using them, and they really like them, including myself, and they really want to use this combination. So you can mount this very easily together on here. So you can use a older style Mavic to use a Crystal Sky. Now, an important aspect is if you want to use a tablet, you're going to have to use the older style Mavic because it's not very easy to mount a tablet to the smart controller. Now, in addition to that, it's also important to note that this new Advanced is not compatible with iOS or iPad. So if you want to use a tablet, you're going to have to use an Android tablet with it. So I hope this video has been able to help you make a decision whether or not this aircraft is going to fit your needs or not. Now, if it does, please give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out. We offer really good package deals. We go ahead and for every aircraft that we sell, we set them up. We go ahead and test fly them before we ship them out to you. We also offer free access to our online course for the Mavic, and we have specialized on-site training if you need it. We are a full integration company that offers program development, comprehensive training, and all the technical consulting information that you need on different type of aircraft. And if you haven't yet, please help us out, hit our subscribe button, and help us grow the channel. That way we can bring you more very comprehensive content in the future. So thanks again for watching. We'll talk to you soon.